Hello and welcome to State of the Economy, a show that connects you with key policymakers and corporate leaders. Today we have with us Mr. R.K. Singh, Chairman and Managing Director of Bharat Petroleum, a public sector oil company which has been in the news of late, along with other public sector oil companies, of course. Welcome to our show, Mr. Singh. I would start with a broader question as to what is the state of play in most of our public sector oil companies, including yours, because it is these companies, as we all know, who are bearing the bulk of the burden of the oil subsidies which are going to the consumers in our economy, and simply because the prices of oil products are still to be marked to the market. And we had assurances in the budget that the government would gradually mark up diesel and petroleum prices to the market. In fact, Prime Minister and Finance Minister both said that they would bite the bullet, a very famous term they used, raising hopes that in the weeks ahead there would be increase in oil prices, thereby bringing your company a lot of relief. When I say your company, it includes you and other public sector oil companies. So what is the situation today?
See, in the downstream industries, we have got two divisions. One is refining and other one is marketing. Now, refinery division has been deregulated way back in 1998. What it means is that refineries are not enjoying any subsidy, any help from the government. They enjoy no protection. And whatever they produce, they are selling this to the marketing company. Even within the same company, there are two divisions, marketing and refinery.
So refinery sells to marketing?
Marketing.
Marketing in turn sells to the?
To public.
Public, consumers. Yeah.
Consumers. Now, this is true for integrated company as also the independent refineries. Now, there are some independent refineries like MRPL, Reliance. Reliance was, of course, doing marketing for a while, but they
moved away.
They moved away because
when they saw that there are losses in marketing.
Yeah. SR is there. They were also doing marketing for a while. Now, as far as refineries are concerned, they are producing products and selling to the oil companies on import parity basis.
So they are not affected?
They are not affected.
It's only marketing companies which are affected.
Yeah. So they are selling product to marketing company at a price which marketing companies would have incurred if they were to import it. So refineries are fully protected. Now it is the marketing division, even within the company, like IOC, BPC, HPC, we are integrated company. We have refinery as well as marketing. Now, from our own refinery, we buy a product on import parity basis.
And sell it at lower prices.
And then the selling price is determined by the government. Actually speaking, in 1998, government deregulated most of the product, except the refineries was deregulated, of course. And in 2002, government deregulated all the products except gasoline, diesel, LPG and kerosene. These are the products which
on paper they did deregulate, but they did not mark to market from time to time, right?
Yeah, of course, for a while it was done so.
Yeah, but a very brief while.
For a brief, I think it was somewhere in 1997.
Yeah, even during NDA's period.
But then because the prices went up, this was done when the crude prices were lowing, they were ruling at the rate of, I think, about $22. But when the crude prices went up abnormally high, the government decided to put a cap.
I think beyond $80, the revision became very infrequent, right?
Infrequent. So government took control of these four products, that is MS, diesel, and LPG. LPG was never deregulated. LPG and kerosene was never deregulated, but even MS and diesel, which was on paper deregulated way back during 97, 98, it was taken back into the administrative pricing mechanism. And if you remember, we had a body called OCC, Oil Coordination Committee. They were compensating the losses incurred by the oil companies, and they were collecting all the margins, and the costs were being reimbursed to the oil companies.
Now the government directly
Government directly has taken
reimburses the
control, and
losses.
OCC has been dismantled. Now the situation as of today is that we are buying from the refineries at a price which is import parity, but we are not selling the product at the same price. We are selling it below cost. As you know, when we buy the product from refineries, we are incurring costs like logistics cost, there are terminaling costs, transportation, etc. And plus marketing companies also have to make some margin to be able to invest further in the infrastructure, as also make some profit for the company. We are not being allowed to do that.
And the under recoveries, correct me if I'm wrong, were about 1,45,000 crore in 2011-12.
It was around 1,40,000 crores in 11-12. This was only on these three products.
Yeah. So has the government promised to meet this entire under recoveries, or?
That is a struggle going on. The government, actually on paper, there is no subsidy formula as such. What happens is the government has asked the upstream companies, that is ONGC, Oil India and GAIL, to bear about 33%.
They bear about 1/3.
1/3.
So the remaining 2/3, say about 90,000 crore.
The remaining is supposed to come from the government.
How does the government do the accounting? Do they carry it over? Because it is shown in the government balance sheet as a payable, and in your balance sheet as a receivable, right?
No, they make provision in their budget.
Yeah.
So they make budgetary provision towards the subsidy.
Okay.
So they pay us after getting it passed by the parliament.
Yeah.
So I think the last year 11-12 was 140,000 only on MS, HSD and kerosene.
But that I know they provide for a subsidy, but that subsidy is way below the actual under recoveries, right? So how do they pay the remaining part?
No, they go to the
They carry it over to the next balance sheet, next year's budget?
Next year, in between also they give us a letter, and they get it passed by the parliament.
It's a kind of IOU, right?
IOU, yeah.
Okay.
So they pay us eventually, but the payment that we receive from the government is delayed.
I know, it's delayed.
And in the interim period, we have to borrow from the bank towards our working capital.
Okay. So I'll come to this, how you manage your cash flows, but after a break. Please don't go away and keep watching Rajya Sabha television. Welcome back to State of the Economy. We are having a conversation with Mr. R.K. Singh, Chairman and Managing Director of Bharat Petroleum. Mr. Singh, we were discussing the peculiar accounting, as it were, of the under recoveries, how much you lose in terms of selling products at below the market price, and how the government compensates you for that. There is a part of the compensation which comes in the budget, and the remaining, you said government pays you from time to time. Now, they also give you an IOU. Now, all this must surely be creating a cash flow problem. I know that government eventually pays you, whether this year or the next year. But how do you deal with the cash flow problem? Won't your borrowings go up, short-term borrowings go up dramatically for your import of crude and other activities, modernization, etc.?
Let me tell you how do we define the under recoveries.
Yeah. Please do.
We buy the product from refineries on import parity basis. Okay. Then we have to distribute and market this product all over the country. Okay. And to do so, we incur number of costs. Let us say transportation cost, terminaling costs, distribution cost, and on that we load these costs on the price that we have paid to the refineries, plus a little bit of marketing margin. Now, suppose after loading all this, our price is X, and you are selling X minus 10. So minus 10 is the under recovery. That is how we define under recovery.
Okay.
Now, if we keep on selling, as you know, these products are being made available throughout the country on a timely basis. I think this is the peculiar industry when every nook and corner of the country is covered by the petroleum products, and we are doing it very efficiently, so efficiently that every part of the country gets the product as and when they need.
In a sense, you are the energy lifeline of the country.
So there's a huge infrastructure that is required to be developed and upgraded from time to time to make sure that we keep pace with the growth that takes place. And the economy is growing. I think to feed the economy, we need to grow in the energy sector.
Yeah. So how do you keep? You need enough cash flows to be able to reinvest.
Coming to the cash flow, as far as the cash flow is concerned, the 1/3, 33% that we are supposed to get from the upstream, we get on time.
That you get on time.
That we get on time. But what we don't get on time is the compensation that we are supposed to receive from the government.
Government, okay.
Now, government compensation comes late. Let us say first quarter compensation will come in the second quarter. In interim period, we have serious cash flow problem. And we keep on borrowing from the banks, and the situation has become very bad. It has become worse in recent time because the borrowing cost has gone up.
How much has it gone up by?
Earlier we used to borrow at the rate of 5 to 6%. Now it is about 9 plus.
So nearly 300 basis points you're paying more.
So the borrowing cost has gone up, and this interest cost is something which is not reimbursed by the government.
Okay.
So apart from this under recovery that I just talked about,
can you give me an idea of what would be the total borrowings of all the marketing companies?
I can tell you in BPCL, it's about current rate of borrowing, it is about 22,000 crores. HPC is about 30 plus thousand, and IOC is around 80 plus.
So you're actually borrowing about 1,20,000 crores.
That is the kind of borrowing we have today, and there was
that's huge. You must be the largest borrowers in the market.
Yes, indeed. We are.
You three put together.
We are.
And you're paying 300 basis points more compared to say 2 years ago.
Compared to what we were paying earlier. I think what government has done to check the inflation, they have raised the interest rate. And the worst sufferer are the oil companies, because they wanted to control the money.
So roughly your interest burden in a year would be over 10,000 crore?
In BPCL, our interest burden this year, 11-12, the year that has just gone by, is about 1,800 crores.
Yeah, I mean, if you're saying that if all three put together, if the total borrowing is 1,20,000 odd, then you're at 9%. It would be more than 10,000 crore, right?
Correct. That's true.
So that is the scale of interest.
And that is something which is not compensated.
This 10,000 crore is a write-off, is a loss.
It's a write-off. So that adds to our burden.
So, Mr. Singh, tell me now, all your companies you run very efficiently, but because of this problem, how do you deal with, how do you answer shareholders? Government is only majority shareholders, but there are a large number of retail minority shareholders. Suppose I had bought shares of BPCL, say 200 shares of BPCL 10 years ago, and I know it's a good company, but because of this problem, at least I have seen that the shares of these oil companies, in spite of being run well, they have stagnated over the last 10 years, and their share price have not moved in line with their earnings, because the earnings are not recovered in cash in time. Is that a problem? Do you have to reply to shareholders?
You see, there are two aspects, as you rightly said. If you look at our physical performance and efficiency, I think we are second to none. I'm proud to say that, because traditionally...
And your gross margin would compare with any private sector?
It is under recovery and the interest cost in the recent past that is hurting us a lot.
Is it recent past or...?
No, I say recent...
It's now happening for now 6-7 years, no?
6-7 years, the under recovery part of it, but under recoveries have gone up. See, earlier under recovery, which used to be 2 rupees, 3 rupees per litre, has gone up to, let's say, on diesel 14 rupees.
Now it's gone up to 14 rupees.
14 rupees.
So diesel is 14 rupees under recovery.
14 rupees per litre is under recovery.
And in petrol?
petrol which is outside the subsidy scheme. There's another problem. Because government on paper has deregulated petrol, therefore no subsidy is paid on petrol. And even on that product we are losing about 8 rupees per litre.
8 rupees per litre.
And on LPG cylinder, the subsidy which used to be 100, 200, 300 rupees at the most, today it is about close to 500 rupees.
Okay.
So government is not in a position to increase the price.
What in the recent budget, promise was made that they would correct oil prices at least gradually, and it was a big commitment given, even in the context of managing the fisc. What is the latest situation? Have they told you anything? You must be meeting the petroleum minister.
No, we have been pleading with the government. There is an urgent need for increasing the price, but today's under recovery, which is for, let us say, take the case of diesel. I don't think government will be in a position to raise the diesel price by 14 rupees a litre. There will be chaos. So government has done a lot in terms of doing, duty restructuring. Today the duty on kerosene is zero, LPG duty is zero. There is not much of scope as far as diesel is concerned. But the international phenomena, see, the 80% of our requirement we are importing. Importing from outside. Now, it's the government's call to see how much of that burden they can pass it on to the consumer and how much they will absorb themselves.
Do you think, Mr. Singh, they could have, there's one view that if the government had increased it by, say, small doses every 3-4 weeks.
15 days, yeah.
The effect would have been felt less by the consumer.
Exactly. This is what we all have been pleading with the government.
Yeah, we'll discuss this more in greater detail, but after a break, please don't go away and keep watching Raj Sabha Television. Welcome back to State of the Economy. We are having a conversation with the Chairman Managing Director of Bharat Petroleum, Mr. R.K. Singh. Mr. Singh, we were on the subject of taxes, petroleum taxes. Now, there is a view which is gaining ground politically also. The opposition parties are saying that that India has probably, in comparative terms, a very strong component of taxes in the price of petroleum products. Recently, the Goa Chief Minister actually demonstrated that by reducing taxes, the prices could be rationalized and the under recoveries could be, the oil economy could be made more sustainable. Do you think there is scope for other state governments to reduce taxes and also for the center to reduce excise?
Yes, actually, if you look at the central taxes.
First of all, how do we compare with other nations, emerging economies like comparable economies? In terms of taxes, what's your experience?
If you look at the tax component on some of the products, it's as high as 60%.
Okay.
The tax component.
And the other economies are much less, comparable economies?
I think so.
Like China and all will be much less, right?
China will be less because they are also subsidizing heavily, and Middle East may be much less. But I don't think UK and Western countries, it's a free, I mean, it is a free market.
Yeah, I know.
But what happens is...
No, but taxes are imposed by all governments, whether it's free market or right. So
yeah, but I think in a Western country it is not
so high. Taxes are not so. It's moderately high.
Moderately high. But there are countries like Middle East and China and all is very, very low.
Very low.
But in India, what is happening is while the central government has reduced the taxes, let's say for example on crude, the tax has brought to zero.
Zero import duty.
There is no tax on LPG. There is no tax on kerosene. They have reduced duty on diesel. Of course, they have to reduce. In my opinion, on MS, the tax is very high. And that is how the MS is costing high and diesel is much lesser. And therefore, in our economy, there is a dieselization, what we call. More and more diesel is being used, and so much so that it is even today is cheaper than the fuel oil.
So there is a rational fiscal policy which suggests a correction against dieselization, right?
Dieselization. Now, there is another big element, tax element, is this, the which state government levies. Sales tax, for example. And there are many other taxes, entry tax, sales tax, and I believe that is the main source of the revenue for the state government.
Yeah.
So there is a need for state governments to have a rethink or to rationalize the taxes, state taxes. And that will certainly bring down the prices as far as the consumers are concerned. But the state governments are doing nothing, and they are simply asking the central government to do whatever they can do. But I think the state government, in my personal view, need to take urgent steps, as you said, like what Goa has done.
So, or maybe another solution could be to bring petroleum taxes within the ambit of the goods and services tax. So, which creates an agreement among all states to keep petroleum taxes.
But they have been talking about it. I don't think when.
Do you have any hope that petroleum taxes eventually would be brought in?
No, these are political. These are all political decisions. I can't really comment on that. But if it happens, that will help the matter.
It will help, yeah. It will help the oil companies. It will help the economy. It will help the consumers also, because it will reduce the tax component. Now, coming back to Mr. Singh, the last budget, the 2012-13 budget, my information is that the finance ministry had assumed an oil price of about $115 while calculating various subsidies. And now, at that time, if you remember, the oil prices were about $125, and there was a lot of worry on whether the government will be able to meet its oil subsidy targets if oil prices continued at this level. But subsequently, the good news is that oil prices are now down today to about $113. If they stay at these levels for the remaining part of the year, and some economists say the oil price may stay down because China is slowing. China is not incrementally consuming the same amount of oil or commodities. Assuming that is true, if oil prices stay around, say, average around 113, do you think there will be less pressure both on the government to provide subsidies and also on oil companies, which may recover more?
See, the oil prices, you're right, it has come down the recent past. I only hope it sustains, it remains like this. But one cannot predict about oil pricing because this is so volatile and it depends on so many factors. Today Iran, and yesterday it was Libya and whatever it was. But if it remains at this level, 112, 113, which is the current crude price, yes, this will lessen the burden on the government in terms of subsidy payment. But what has happened is, for the last so many months, government has not increased the price of diesel, petrol, LPG, kerosene. Therefore, the under recovery today, it has gone up to 14 rupees. Because of this recent trend, it may not go further up. It may come down to say 12 rupees, 13 rupees. Therefore, there is an urgent need for the government to raise the price. By how much, they will have to take a call. But if they really want to lessen their burden, even at this price level, because they have not increased the price for quite some time.
Yeah, so that means you continue to borrow from the market at high interest rates to meet your cash flow needs, right?
Yeah, indeed. And if because of the government's inability to raise the price and the subsidy, this under recovery having gone up to 14 rupees, because diesel accounts for 45% of total sales. Now, because of this recent trend, maybe the under recovery will come down from 14 rupees to 12 rupees, 11 rupees, or 10 rupees. But even that is,
that's not enough to actually bring back your balance sheets into the black.
So I think the government will have to take urgent steps to increase the price, if not by 10 rupees or 12 rupees, some increase in the price, so that it reduces the subsidy burden. The subsidy remains within the budget that has been.
Mr. Singh, now you said that all the oil companies are borrowing very heavily and at 9%, nearly 300 basis points more compared to some years ago. Interest burden of more than 10,000 crore. Now, how is it reflecting in your balance sheet? Are you losing? What sort of profitability are you showing, or have you shown losses like others?
We have so far, thanks to the compensation that we have received from the government, although quite late, therefore it has gone, the interest burden has gone up. But because of the compensation that we receive from the government as well as the upstream, we have been able to show profits.
You've been able to show, but much reduced profits. Yeah.
We would have made much more profit had we been allowed to charge the consumer.
Can you give, for my viewers' benefit, an idea of if full market price was realized by you, what would have been the profits and what is it now? Can you just give me a just rough idea?
See, if we realize the full profit, full margins,
market price,
we would be making something like 2,500 to 3,000 crore. I'm talking about BPCL.
Just BPCL, yeah.
BPCL, 3,000 crores per rupees, 3,000 crore rupees profit per
annual.
As against that, even if you get 100% compensation, I can't tell you the figures because that's yet to be finalized.
Okay. Assuming 100%.
It will be
less than third of that.
It will be at least 1/3 of that.
So there is so even after 100% compensation,
we may do 1/3
of your potential.
Yeah.
So this is, I mean, if this is a level of this is a big compromise you're making,
and this is affecting our future plans.
Your future plans and of course affecting the share market performance.
Share market is one thing, but we have to invest heavily in the infrastructure to be able to meet the future requirement. If GDP is going to grow at the rate of 8 to 9%, we need to invest. Our petroleum product growth will also be around 5 to 6% or 7%. Now current infrastructure will not be adequate to meet the growing requirement.
Thanks a lot, Mr. R.K. Singh. Learned a lot about the oil economy with you. And let's hope some sense dawns on the government on these issues. That is all we have in this edition of State of the Economy. We will be back again with another episode soon. Thank you. Goodbye.